Yes, folks, it's a great day on the outside. Yours truly is just coming back from his barbershop appointment. And if I do the pre-recorded interview as part of this show, you'll see what I definitely needed that and all of that. And definitely was out and about, got a chance to go by the Carolina Theater and see our new executive director and talk to him. He's all moved in and has got his family and everything situated. Both his mom having an apartment as well as he having one as well with his significant other also. So definitely it looks like things are definitely going good in terms of things at the Carolina Theater, and definitely looking forward to seeing some shows going on in that venue. Probably not till the fall time, as of course folks still have to get acclimated, and of course there's still people out there getting vaccinated. I know I still need to go get mine as well. So while I was out and about, I definitely got by the barbershop and also stopped by Measurement Incorporated. Saw a couple of my coworkers at that location also. And then, of course, I was just out and about, stopped by the Eyeglass Place, which actually I've got an appointment with them on next week, next Wednesday, before the online dinner party. So not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday, I'll be trying to check on these specs and these eyes and see how they are doing and all of that. So that's just some of the things that are going on in my life. Of course, I did see people out enjoying the great weather outside. As a matter of fact, I've seen a number of folks out there walking their dogs, and in some cases, it's like the dogs are walking them because they are definitely out there enjoying the weather, enjoying their time in the fine weather and all of that. So it's great seeing people out and about and enjoying this great weather. Definitely a lot of folks were still masked up, and that's a good thing because we do want people to still do all of the things that the CDC and other people are encouraging us to do, including getting those vaccinations and all of that. I do know that in Florida, I was over there at the barbershop, and I noticed that in Florida, I believe that the folks in that 40 age range are able to get theirs, and it might even be going down to like the college age as well in the very near future. So definitely we're seeing more and more people opening up and more people getting vaccinations. And a lot of people are also talking about what's going on in the sense of Georgia and some of their new laws that they have enacted about bringing water to poll workers, bringing food to poll workers, having different kinds of locations, not having as many locations in some places, and definitely some other things that folks are not all that thrilled about. And the same thing with what's going on with the George Floyd case, or the case of the officers that were involved in his killing and all of that. So definitely a lot of things are in people's minds, are on the news and all of that. I'm also hearing a lot of people that are hearing about a whole lot of youth coming across the border from Mexico, and people are thinking about that and how that is impacting their lives as well. So a lot of people, actually, I saw a poll while I was at the barber, and one of the polls said that the vast majority of people were approving of what Biden was doing with the pandemic. However, it was not that much approval for what's going on the Mexican border. I think it was something like 57% disapproved or something like that, if I'm remembering my figures correctly, and what I saw when I was watching the news over there. And of course, like all good barbershops, we were talking about sports and social situations and a number of other things along that line. So always great to have these amazing conversations and to just have a chance to talk to folks when we're out and about. But now I've got one of my guests coming in, and I'm looking forward to hearing from her. I've had all kinds of great guests coming to me from Potted, and this is another one that I met through Potted as well. So I'm going to bring in Miss Ortega, and we're going to have a conversation about a number of things. But definitely glad to have you here with me, Miss Ortega. Definitely, I know that I had reached out to you, and definitely I've had some amazing guests from that platform, Potted, that have talked about a number of things from the business community to a number of other things as well. So I'm always glad when I can get guests from that platform. They've done a great job of definitely providing that opportunity for podcasters and others to meet each other and all of that. So I don't know if you're familiar with the International Broadcast Network, but I'll tell you a little bit about it. Nick Palveda and Kim Calhoun kind of founded this whole platform, and it's almost like an internet TV network. So we've got all kinds of shows going on, everything ranging from my shows, which are more talk oriented, to a couple of other shows that are music oriented. I know that Alexandria May does one called Alexandria May's Music Cafe out of South Africa. And we've also got a very much of a spiritually based show that comes out of Nigeria. So we've got shows from all over the world. And of course, we love having guests from all over the world as well. So Miss Ortega, I'd love for the folks to learn more about you and about what you're all about. And then, of course, I've got, as always, with a good interviewer, some questions that I've got in mind as well. But if you want to share a little bit about yourself, I'm sure that folks would love to hear about it here on this platform as well as just in general.
I love that. Thanks for having me. This is the first time I've used this platform. I did not expect to go live the second I got on. So hello, everyone. I'm Monica Ortega. So I host a YouTube travel show called Monica Goes. And then I also co-host a podcast called Stumbling Forward about entrepreneurship. And my very first book, The Power of Pivoting, actually just came out today on Amazon. So I'm super, super excited.
Good. We've actually got a travel program. It's one of our shows that has done quite well, that Brandon has done Best of Travel with Brandon and all of that. But unfortunately, he's also fortunately, he's also kind of our main webmaster and all of that. So he's not been doing as many shows as he had been doing in the past. And of course, people aren't doing as much traveling because of COVID, but now things are probably going to open up. Hopefully they'll open up. Like I mentioned earlier, I went by one of the boards that I sit on, which is the Carolina Theater here in Durham, North Carolina. And I was talking to, I've actually met him a couple of times, the new director and all of that. But we were just talking about how it's going to be very much of a hybrid mix, even in the theater world, where people might be not seeing films as soon as they expected, or they might be doing like the big corporations are doing, Disney and Warner Brothers, where you have the opportunity to see it both in your house, but also possibly see it in a movie theater, whether that's AMC or an independent, like what the Carolina Theater is. But I just wondered, as one that's been in that travel space, what has been your thoughts about the travel industry, and are you expecting it to have a boom now that we've had this lull? Because I know it definitely hurt a lot of the travel industry in the sense of hurting cruise ships. I actually went on my first cruise. I think it was about, was it last year? So maybe it was 2 or 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago. I went on my first cruise ever and enjoyed the experience. But there was other things that I wish that I had done more of, like getting to know some of the local attractions as opposed to the ones that the boat and the cruise ship takes you to. But I'm just wondering your thoughts as to what the future of travel is, and then we'll get into some of the other things as well.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely took a hit, that's for sure. And, I remember this time last year, all of my contracts just disappeared suddenly. And, we all went into lockdown and stuff like that. I will say the one good thing that I've always focused on, U.S. travel and outdoor adventure, which is 2 things that we can actually do now. So I think we're seeing a lot more of road tripping, camping, things like that. I just did a little birthday vacation to the mountains here in Colorado over the weekend. So there's still ways to travel and be socially distanced. But I also feel like now that the vaccine is kind of coming around, I would say, within a year, travel's going to be picking back up because we're all getting stir crazy and ready to go. And I think once we have that sort of comfort level that, we're getting it and other people might be as well, and destinations are taking precautions, I think we'll see a good surge.
Yeah, definitely. And it sounds to me like you did, and I'm going to bring in one of our other guests because we got some other people that I've invited to come on, and they popped on as well. So that's always a great thing when this happens and everything. But you definitely did the pivot. And a couple of times we talk about pivoting, we talk about the nature of the pivot, and a lot of people have been pivoting in this day and time. So I was just wondering if you could talk a little bit about your own personal journey of pivoting and kind of some of the things that you went through that caused you to do the pivots that you have done in your life. I know part of that might have also been around your relationship situation and things of that nature. But I was just wondering if you could talk about the nature of pivoting and how you have embraced it, because it says that the title of your book is The Power of Pivoting, How to Embrace Change and Create a Life You Love, which I think more of us need to have.
Yeah, I mean, so I bounced around in the entertainment industry. I was a singer in Nashville, and then I was an actress in LA and host. So I feel like career-wise, I was always pivoting. And then I also had this mentality that life is linear, right? You go to high school, you go to college, you meet somebody, get married, have kids. So when I was 29, I sort of did that, thinking of checking the boxes, and got married. And it turned out to not be a very good marriage. And through that process, I actually came up with the travel show because he wasn't into travel. And I thought, if I'm not going to get this out of my relationship, I need to get it out of my career. So still sort of on that theme of pivoting, right? And then about 4 years in, when I found out he'd been cheating the whole time, it was like the entire plan had kind of blown up. And it was the first time I stepped back and I thought, okay, well, what do I want my life to look like? What do I actually want to do? And, I wish I would have asked those questions earlier, which is one of the reasons I put out the book, is I'm hoping to help inspire people to really dig into who I want to be, what I want to do, where I see my future going, all of those things. So for me, it was this big blessing in disguise. And then I really dove into the travel show and fell in love with everything in my life, really. But then 2020 hit. So all of a sudden, everything, again, kind of gets blown up. And I thought, I feel like I'm not an expert in any of these areas, but I am an expert at pivoting. I've done it my whole life. And suddenly all these people were in that situation that maybe hadn't done it and found change scary and didn't know where to go with it. So I never really planned on writing a book. But I sat down to write it, and about 3 weeks later, I had the book done, and I thought, I guess I had some stuff to say. But I feel like, pivoting it's a nicer word than change, right? Change feels scary. Pivoting feels like we're just going to try it this way. And so I'm really hoping that the book can inspire people to see setbacks as setups and really see the opportunities that come when things change instead of just all of the scary unknowns.
No, I definitely agree with you that. Another thing, and I'm going to bring Veronica in first because she's the master of e-commerce and all of that. And she actually came here from one of the Southern African countries and all of that. So she came from one of the Southern African countries, now lives in Texas with her longtime partner and husband and all of that. So, and also her fancy giraffe, Miss Molly, that she also sometimes brings into some of her podcast environments and everything. So it's actually not a real giraffe if folks are worried about a real giraffe popping up on the show and all of that. But one of the things that I was going to ask you, and I was also going to bring in Veronica into this question as well, and I'm also bring Robert in, who's coming at us from Alaska and all of that. But he's got that whole kind of Alaskan environment, so I want to bring both of them into the conversation. But we've also heard people thinking about pivot in the sense of even sometimes the ways of our thinking about diversity. And I was just wondering your thoughts about that, because you definitely come from the Hispanic environment and things of that nature. I've got friends in that community. I've got friends in the Asian community. I actually come out of the African American community, but I also have some Native American blood in me as well, and some other blood flowing through as well. But whether it's Black Lives Matter or a number of other things, we have had conversations around diversity. And of course, a lot of people are paying attention to the border and what's going on in the border and a number of other things. But I just love to know your thoughts about diversity and how that plays into the entrepreneurship pivoting environment.
Yeah, I mean, oh my gosh, there's a lot to unpack there. But I feel like I've seen a lot of different sides of it, right? I was raised in Michigan, which is primarily a white area. And then I moved to Tennessee, which the South is a completely different world. And then I moved to LA, where it's incredibly diverse. And now I'm in Colorado. So lots of different places and experiences in terms of diversity. And then I feel like within the past year, obviously all of this stuff is going on with Black Lives Matter and these protests and the awareness that's finally happening. And, all of these things, it also plays into the heaviness that was this year, right? And like the toll that takes on mental health. And so I think it's a really good time to learn, to step back and learn about other people's experiences. I know personally, I don't know what your experience is or what an Asian American experiences is. So it's a really good time to learn and just really be aware. So I feel like we're all sort of awakened, and we should see it as an opportunity to grow as humans.
No, I definitely agree with you. And like I said, I'm going to bring Veronica into the conversation as well. Veronica, glad to have you here. I know you always are glad to join us and all of that. And you are the one of the true masters of e-commerce, and you do great in e-commerce. So I know you got an event coming up, and definitely earlier we were talking to Monica, and she's written this book called The Power of Pivoting: How to Embrace Change and Create a Life You Love. And I know that you're all about creating a life you love. I mean, I don't know many people, and I like to tease you about this all the time, that get to live on a boat, because like I said, some of the time you're on land, and Brian and them tease you about that, but a lot of times you're out there living off the Gulf Coast, off of your boat and all of that. So share a little bit about what you got going on, and then I'm sure Monica would love to know that as well. And then in a minute, I'm going to bring Robert into the conversation as well from Alaska, but would love to hear your thoughts about what's going on in your world.
So, hi, Monica. Nice to meet you. And thank you for inviting me, Mark. I really appreciate it. I keep forgetting I can just pop in on this. It's Mondays is always a heavy day in anybody's day, right? So, yes, I live on a boat, and I've been living on a boat for 8 years. And it just happened because my kids left home and they were like off in the world. And we said to ourselves, what happens now? I did my pivot. It's actually more like 11 years. About 11 years ago in my life, it's like, okay, what is my next adventure? That's how I see my life. What is my next adventure? I lived in Holland for 8 years. I come from Namibia. I lived in South Africa for 8 years. And now I'm in America, and I'm stuck because I've got babies and grandbabies here, and they have wives and stuff, So, but so, and then COVID happened, and I totally agree with you. You have to change your life. I keep saying to people, nobody at the end of your life is going to go, damn, I'm so sorry, my darling. You can have it over again because you screwed up the first time, So if you're not happy, why, and talking about divorce, why are you with that person? If you're not really happy, if that's not what you want to do. So I'm very, very fortunate that I'm still with my partner, and we have been married. I've got to think about 38 years, 36 years. I think my son's 37. I don't know. Don't tell him I don't know his age. So I just celebrated my anniversary as well in March. So, but yeah, so I have been, I want to say blessed, but it's not right. I know my daughters-in-law keep asking me, so what made your marriage successful? And I said it was damn hard work. There's nothing easy about a relationship, and it has to be from both sides. If you don't have that, it's funny, we had that conversation with my daughter-in-law this weekend. It has to come from both sides, and they're going to be bad days, and they're going to be really, excuse the French here, shitty days. And I mean, seriously, he's squeezing his bloody toothpaste from the wrong thing, and he didn't put on his tongue, And sometimes you're like irritated, and ew, don't touch me, just go away, But you got to just roll with it. And I mean, and when you have kids, it's even worse. Actually, kids make it worse, believe me. And so it is hard work. Never mind. And you got to keep the romance going, right? You got to keep the romance going. Anyway, let's go back onto e-commerce, because I'm
Yes.
I'm very, very passionate about e-commerce. So it's so excited about my customers. My clients have really sold well last year. We were just talking about, I do a workshop Mondays and Wednesdays, and we were discussing just, sometimes things come up on a discussion and I don't get a chance to teach them something. But they did really well last year. And I think a lot of people went up and then crashed down and then went up again at Christmas. This year is going to be a little bit more difficult. I think people are literally getting fatigued, right? It's just not another year, not another day. We have to do this how long, So I find you have to think outside the box, whatever you're doing. You go say, okay, so maybe if I tweak my website, maybe if I do a live, right? Maybe if I have a picnic on the off deck just to bring the romance in my relationship. I'm not going to do that, by the way. He has to bring me my wine on the off deck. And I get tea in bed. So in the morning. So you have to just say, okay, if it's not working, how can I make the change? And that's personal and business, right? What can I change to improve? So you always got to be thinking ahead. Okay, so if I'm not getting enough sales, what I'm going to do? How can I change it? So anyway, so I got sucked into. I've got to tell you this. I got sucked into the summit thing, right? So somebody said to me, "Hey, why don't you do a summit in our thing?" Wow, this is a great idea. Until I had to do it, and it was like so much work, right? But it is so exciting. I've had so many fabulous speakers this year, and Brian Schulman is one of them. And Tim Son is my producer. I'm very happy about that. And it's going to be for 2 days. And I'm going to bring all these experts in Instagram and YouTube and Amazon Live. And there's lots of video, actually, I've noticed. Email marketing and shipping and QuickBooks and anything to do with business, right? And whether you are selling a product or selling a service, you still have to sell, right? You still have to know your numbers. Okay, you don't do shipping when you have services, but you still have to know what the sales tax rules are. You still have to do your Instagram and do your lives and be in front of your customers, because if you're not, they're going to forget about you, right? So anyway, so I'm very
That's
excited
very
about
true,
this.
and I'm looking forward to it, and we're going to learn some more details about that. One of the things that you brought up, and I wanted to hear from Monica about that, and I'm also going to bring Robert into the conversation as well, our gentleman from Alaska, but she talks about mental health and visualization, and I know that that's something that's very important to you as well. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about mental health and visualization and how that plays into what you do with your whole entrepreneurship conversation, because I do know that that is very important to you, Monica. You actually mentioned it even in some of your promotional stuff and things along that line. And definitely, I think most entrepreneurs need to visualize what that success is going to look like. But I'd love to hear your thoughts, and then I'm going to bring Robert into the conversation as well. But Monica, what is your thoughts about mental health and visualization and how that plays into the entrepreneurship journey?
Yeah, I think it's everything. I think one of the hardest things about being an entrepreneur is keeping yourself on track, right? Because it all comes down to you. And then also not taking it personally. So you have two ends of the coin. You have to have a goal, be motivated, create a plan, through visualization, vision boards, manifestation, whatever you want to call it, whatever you need to do to schedule and get a plan going for your goals. But then also you have to learn to not take it personally through the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, right? Because we all treat our businesses as our babies, but that can be a really slippery slope because businesses do this and you have to be able to ride those waves out. And I think so much of that is being proactive, having like I call it a mental health toolkit. I have my anxiety toolkit, my depression toolkit. So when these things start kicking in, I have steps that I can take that can kind of prevent a spiral and get me out of my own brain, whether that's asking other people or just going for a run, whatever it is. But having those things in place beforehand instead of just thinking, I'll be fine no matter what happens, because we're all humans and our brains are weird. And the best thing you can do is prepare for those sort of slumps. And I think that helps get through.
Now, that makes a lot of sense. And I know one of the things that Veronica does, and then, like I said, I'm definitely going to bring Robert into the conversation, is that she also has ways of keeping things, as you just noticed from her conversation, very fun, very entertaining, and she's definitely adds that element of comedy. Usually she's got Molly, her giraffe, with her and all of that. So I was wondering whether we have, like the rest of you, Robert and Monica, if you have things that you use as kind of the things that give you joy that some people might think of as childish or kind of kiddish, but they add joy to what you're doing and everything. Because like I said, Monica's got her, Veronica's got her basically pet giraffe and all of that. So that's what Molly is. So I was loving to know your thoughts as to whether there are things that you do to kind of keep that joy going, Monica. And like I said, I know that you were married and had divorced, but I don't know if you have any kids. And the same with Robert. And actually, it looks like Robert's got something he's got as well. So
that actually looks like a giraffe, right?
Oh, wow. Wow. It's a diamond willow, actually.
Yeah, I mean, you got to. So when I talk to my clients, I have to be upbeat. Okay, now I start in the morning, right? So I talk to my husband. I have to be upbeat, right? Because he's more of the, hey, I'm going to. He's retired right now, but he's more of the literal logical. I've got to get things done, and that sometimes it's the person because he doesn't get things done. So you got to be So then I get on my workshops and come on guys, let's go for it. Blah 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 blah. It's like positiveness, and funny enough, I spoke to my mom, and she's in Namibia, and I said to her, you know what? And I told Brian as well. So when you are depressed, right, you're feeling a bit down and things are not going well. And so you got to smile. So stand in front of the mirror and smile. And believe me, you look so bloody silly that you will smile at yourself. And if you're smiling, you can't have bad thoughts. Because as soon as we have bad thoughts, your mouth goes down. Right? I'm so bloody miserable, right? So, but if you're smiling, then suddenly your face lights up, and you got to do this in the mirror, right? And so it actually lifts your spirit. So and people can hear it in your voice when you're talking to them on the phone or if you're doing anything, right? So you have to keep on smiling, baby. That's my mantra. Keep on smiling.
Makes sense. What about you, Monica? Are there ways that you try to have your positivity and ways that you try to add to your positive spirit and everything? Because definitely you seem to have that kind of positive energy as well. So I was just wondering, what are some of the tools that you use to manifest that happiness and to manifest that positive energy?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have my morning routine. You know, I do my Bible study, I do a little meditation and, journal things out. But then again, I have like these weird toolkits, right? So, like, if I'm feeling down, I'll just pick one, whether it's like go out with friends and go dancing or go for an angry run or just cry, and I just try out different things to see which one works. But I'm definitely all about comedy. I mean, I literally wrote stand up going through my divorce and then went out and did it just for fun. Like that's
brilliant.
I love to like
brilliant
and like make it more fun, even like the most uncomfortable, awkward things. So I think just having a good sense of humor, but then also not taking it personally when other people aren't upbeat. Because sometimes our friends or our partner or our family may be very pessimistic, and I used to take that so personally and let it affect my energy. And now I'm just like, you know what? That's their day. I'm going to close the door and do my own thing, and then come out an hour later and things are fine. Yeah. So like really learning to not take everything else so personally.
Yes.
And that includes the world's energy right now. Like the world's energy is low. So you have to protect your mental health and protect your own spirit when all of this stuff is going on in the news and in the world.
Right, that makes sense. Robert, I'd love to hear your thoughts. You're over there in Alaska, and a lot of times people, when they think of Alaska, they think about the fact that sometimes y'all have those periods of the year where it's like light and daytime all day, and then y'all have another time of the year where it's dark a lot of times, more than usual, and there's some other weird things that go on in Alaska that I imagine impact your own energy, and of course, definitely things are going on around the world that you're also studying, and of course, you're now trying to get into the world of live streaming. So I'd love for you to share a little bit about who you are and what you're doing, and just a little bit about that Alaska spirit. Because, like I said, I think I mentioned to you before, one of my schoolmates from Marquette and everything, he actually was running for one of the mayor's offices there in one of the towns of Alaska. And I've got to look up Tom Morfitt and remember which town it was he was running for, but I know he ran for office there and did not win that office, but he did run and everything. But I would love to hear more about Alaska and where you are and what you're doing in Alaska and what you're hoping to do with your live streaming, and also how positivity plays a role in your life.
Absolutely. You guys can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Great. So first I'll answer the question about the light. Right now, as we're coming into summer, it's not quite, it's springtime because the light is high and the sun is out. So as we get closer to June, light is exponentially getting longer till the 21st, until summer solstice, and then it'll peter off and get dark again. Most light that I'm about 220 miles more east than north, but northeast of Anchorage. And going about 200 miles stoplight, about 220 miles from my Trey's. I love Alaska. I've lived here my entire life. My grandfather lived at this property in 1968, and he lived with my dad's mom after World War II. He was a veteran of the war, and they were homesteading out Alaska land after it was becoming a state, and we squeezed in 1968. We got 80 acres here, and so I got past 2016, but I've lived here my whole life, and so it's just me and my Rocky Boy, my dog. And I do remote transportation and tours for all people. All my are exclusive, simply because I don't have workers or assets to launch properly. And when COVID happened, it kind of really just dampened it. I have to pretty much relaunch my business. I just launched it, got a brand new car, which I have a lot during COVID, but it's okay. It's given me a chance to, follow the trends of the world. I don't say anything positive about COVID stuff in any way, but it has really helped me network. I have access to free streaming apps, things like that, and I've been trading on. I try to stay away from Bitcoin, but I'm doing all kinds of new stuff this year that in 2020 I can't do before. Things I did in 2020 for the first time. I started a podcast. Doing videos now. I got on. I trade stocks now for the first time. I actually have quite a big portfolio, and I've been listening to myself all year. And it's given me. My grandpa did that. He would years that way. And so I'm feeling a lot more comfortable and I'm just excited. So you feel empowered when you realize that you can, keep yourself alive without for moose, for eggs and milk. Of course, they don't work well in the winter time. But what I'm getting at is I can live my pretty much 50% off all year long. And so, I'll use water maybe every 2 to 3 weeks. That's sufficient. And I won't tell you. I don't remember the last time I took a shower, but I do take baths all the time. I know.
Robert, try and get closer to your mic. Was it coming in and out?
Yep.
Great. Yeah, let me know when that. I'm brand new with this stuff.
That's a little bit better. Yes.
And can you turn it up a little bit?
I don't know if I can turn it up. I can hit the mic thing and then. Yeah, let's turn it up. I think that's that. Oh, how? Is that better?
Tends to go in and out.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I don't know why. I just using my Samsung S5 because I don't have my other devices got frozen and ran over, left outside at 40 below, so they're just don't do too well after they've been in the cold for a while.
Yeah. The good tip is I use not a lot, but every now and again I will use just the mic that's attached to my phone, and it's a lot better, and it doesn't give me feedback.
That's not good.
Yeah, that works sometimes, doing that. Yeah. And sometimes I've seen people, because if you're using a Mac, Microsoft or some of the other equipment, sometimes you have to use both the phone and the computer together and things of that nature. So I've seen that.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I've seen that work with a couple of folks. But it's that just with a few techniques that folks have used and everything. Monica, Robert's getting that stuff situated and everything. Another thing that you mentioned earlier was the importance of faith in the entrepreneurship journey. So I'd love to hear from both you and Veronica that importance as well, because I do think that I like to think of it more in the spiritual sense versus the religious sense, but I do think that faith is very important to a lot of the journeys, and it seems very important to you, Monica. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about how important faith is to your entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah, I mean, it made a huge difference in my personal life. I've always been, in and out of Christianity, but, I used to go hiking. That was my church, I called it, before I found a church that I really liked. But through my divorce journey, there's a lot of stuff that happened that sort of got me on board with it all. But I just think in general, whether it's Christian Jesus or just spirituality or whatever it is you believe, I think having something to ground yourself and feel like there's something bigger in the world makes it all more in perspective. So, right, it kind of goes back to that not taking everything personally, because if you think the world just revolves around you, everything good and bad falls onto you. But if you can accept that there's something bigger out there, whatever that may be for you, I think it can help you ride those waves out, knowing that there's a plan that maybe we don't see yet, right? Whether that's relationship or career. I feel like so often they say you look back and it all makes sense. You went through all these careers to find the right one. So whether or not you see that as like a big plan thing, in my belief, it is. And so if you can learn to trust that, you can learn to trust all of the bad stuff that comes along too, knowing that there will be a purpose to it someday.
Yep. And another thing, I'd actually talked earlier in a pre-recorded interview with a woman entrepreneur out of London, and we were talking about the fact that this being March is Women's History Month and the importance of Women's History Month, and both of y'all are women entrepreneurs, so I'd love to hear your thoughts about that, but also how you cope with the pay gap, because there is a vast pay gap that doesn't need to exist in my mind. But then again, I'm very liberal in a lot of my viewpoints and very progressive in a lot of my viewpoints, but I'd love to hear your thoughts about how we can do better, because I don't think it's just a United States problem. I actually think there's a problem globally as well. But I think Veronica would be able to allude to that a little bit more, having traveled around the world. But definitely, I'd love to hear both of your thoughts about this pay gap and what we can do to get rid of this pay gap. Because I think that if a woman is good at the job, then she needs to get paid the same as a man and not have these pay gaps. But that's just my thoughts. And like I said, I'm a progressive.
Well, I think a lot of it too comes down to we need as females to ask for more. We need to know that we're worth more, right? And it's so funny that you brought this up because I had somebody in one of my podcast interviews just mention the fact that my book is called The Power of Pivoting. And he was like, power is full of ego. And I said, from a female point of view, I don't think we see it that way. We need to empower ourselves. We need to step into that. So I feel like men think of like power and money and all this stuff, and us females are like, can we just have a little bit?
Yes.
And so a lot of it comes down to us standing up and saying, I deserve this and I need to ask for this. And opening yourself up to knowing what other people are getting paid. Because I didn't for the longest time ask for what I was worth because I didn't realize that other people and other men were making that. And then the second I realized it, it's like, oh, I should ask for that too. But if we don't know, you don't know what you don't know. So I would say educate yourself on what other people are getting paid, male and female, and then step into it and ask for what you deserve.
Yep.
Am I correct, Veronica, in thinking that it isn't just a United States problem, that it is actually a global problem, and that it's one that needs to be dealt with on a global standpoint? Like I said, I have not done enough traveling. I think I mentioned to you once before that the only time that I've been out of the country was, well, if you want to count the cruise, I guess technically with Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, that's out of the country. But in terms of actually being out of the country, it was Turkey when I was literally a baby. So like I said, I know that my dad was in the Air Force. So after I was born in the 60s, Mom packed me up because I didn't have a younger brother at the time, and we headed over to Turkey where I stayed until I was like around 3 or 4. So some of my baby years were actually spent in Turkey, but that's my extent of foreign travel. And that's something I'm ashamed of because I would like to do more foreign travel, and that's one of my pivots that I want to do more of. So, Monica, if you've got any tips on where you can get good deals at, let me know because I need some good deals on some foreign travel.
I know, right? I know. Yeah, I would love. I'm getting ready to go visit my mom in Africa, but well, at the end of the year, hopefully. I've been an entrepreneur since I was in my early 20s. I worked for 3 years as on a uranium mine in Namibia, and I was learning stuff, right? And then I changed careers, and I was a contractor when we moved to Johannesburg, and I became an entrepreneur, and my babies were tiny. I mean, they were literally baby 6 months or something. And even smaller. I actually had my first job when I came out of the hospital with my first baby, and I would put him on my back and do my drawings. But I think I agree with Monica. It is all about our attitude, right? So, and I'm not going to reveal my age here since my birthday is tomorrow as well. But
my birthday's today.
Thank you.
We're birthday twins.
Yeah. Oh, cool. Yes. So I've fought against it all my life, right? So I worked in the construction, and I used to do drawings and build houses and stuff, and in the construction industry in Africa. And the guys used to pat me on my head and go, "Oh, this is just a hobby. I don't have to pay you the full price." And then I got into, it wasn't so bad in Holland. No, okay. So, and then I thought, yeah, we're going to Holland and they're progressive and it's Europe and yeah, we're going to kick ass, right? Oh no, they're even worse. You cannot believe it. I was shocked. So I had an English partner who did not understand any Dutch. We went to go for an interview to IBM. I don't know what we were doing, trying to get in or something like that with our company. And this guy would talk to my partner. He would not look at me. It was like, what? So, I mean, it's just, it is, so it won't go away because women, and this is women as well, right? And men, the dads and the moms, teach their children that mindset. Right. And so it perpetuates itself. So I don't know if it is better already. So remember when I started a business in Africa, that was plenty years ago, in the 80s. And I had to have my husband's signature on my business telephone.
Wow.
Hello. Yeah, I could not get a business bank account. I had to have his signature. So, and America is like 20 years ahead of what Africa is, But again, it was really bad then, but it's still bad because moms teach their sons to do different things. So we have a little boy and we have a little girl, and they automatically will veer toward things. So you will give the daughter dolls, the boy gets cars, and if the little boy wants a doll, they go, "Oh, you're a whoosh. Here's a car. Go make vur sounds," right? So we are perpetuating that. There's a difference. Hey, Ankit, there's a difference, and and so the sons can go, whoosh, you can go and do stuff, and the little girl, hey, you got to stay inside and do whatever you need to do inside. So again, it is up to the parents to change the attitude of children, and also teach their daughters. Sounds like a song, right? There is a song like that. Teach their daughters to reach for the moon, and that they are worthy, and you can do anything. I'm teaching my granddaughter. She is cheeky, baby. I mean, I'm telling you, she can do anything. She's 6.5 years old. She's going to have a boutique and a fashion thing, and also be something else. It changes all the time. But still, you can tell them this is what you can do. You can literally do anything.
No doubt about that. One of the things that I know that the network has talked about, and I'd love to hear Monica's thoughts. I think that Veronica has talked about it in the past before as well, but I'd love to hear her elaborate on it. But I know that two of our founders, that being Kim Calhoun and definitely Nick Palveda, have talked about the fact that we too often use 18th century values in terms of what we're teaching in the 21st century. So they don't feel that we do enough teaching about entrepreneurship, about financial literacy,
Absolutely.
about a number of these other things as well. So I'd love to hear from both of you, Monica and Veronica. So I'll start with you, Monica, as to your thoughts as to us teaching even about entrepreneurship in the school system and in society in general, and whether you feel we're doing enough of that or what we can do better in that regards.
Yeah, we're absolutely not doing enough. I mean, first of all, I think we should have been taught taxes. I wish I knew what was happening with my finances. I mean, we were never taught those things. Mm-hmm. And then people need to know that there's other options for business other than just these check marks, like I said, of going to college or having a trade, because not everybody learns the same way. And I didn't even know that these options were available to me. And then also, without knowing the financial stuff and an LLC and all of these things that came into play, I made so many mistakes and lost so much money just trying to figure things out in my business, where I feel like there needs to be business classes in high school. Maybe even junior high, but you have to start teaching those skills, marketing, business. Nowadays, I think they should teach about social media and how to use it for good and evil. There has to be all of these different things involved in the way that we teach kids now.
Absolutely. That's my passion. I'm all about business. And my son goes, "You're very boring. All you can talk about is business." But it's important. I schlepp my children. I used to sell South African stuff in Holland. I used to schlepp them to bazaars. I used to schlepp them to flea markets. I taught them how to sell their toys if they wanted more money to actually buy something that more than the money that I'm giving them. They had to actually earn it, and they would collect all their toys, go and put it out in a blanket, get their mates, and sell their stuff. And so, so I really believe that we can teach our children to think about it, and also the value of money, right? So, and I see that with my grandkids right now. When you're getting money, you got to work for it. We don't get money for free. There's no free money. You pay for your money. And the amount of times I've got to tell entrepreneurs, they go, "Well, it's costing too much money to use this service." And I go, "You want money, you got to pay for it. Money costs money, right? Doing business costs money. There's no free ride, because when there is a free ride, there is a cost to it." Okay, so I'm teaching. I'm actually starting with my 6.5. She's nearly 7. The 4-year-old is still too young, and my 11-year-old granddaughters to start an online store, and they're already doing the drawings, and I'm going to show them how to do print on demand and sell stuff. And I was going to expand this, and the big ideas. And I thought, oh my Lord, my brain hasn't got enough space. So I'm just going to teach them. And if they have friends, that's fine, because you get into trouble with parents and, and they have to commit. They have to commit. And just teaching them, you can actually earn something. You know how exciting it is to make when you have on your computer that ding ding ding, and you have a sale and you made $10. I made $10 with my book. It's like, oh, I sold another 4. Yes, it's the first thing. I made $40, but it's the first thing I check in the morning, right? It is nothing beats that excitement. Nothing, or the thousands of dollars I make with my clients is that $10 I make on Amazon. That is the most exciting thing, and you got to teach that to children. That, again, I agree with Monica. It's so important. It's so important.
Well, Monica's made a new fan and everything, because Ankit is one of the main producers here on the network and everything. And he was just saying that he would like to invite you to appear on our Startup Wednesday show as well. So definitely he has been impressed with some of the things that you're saying, and he would love to have you come in on that show, which is on Wednesdays. And then he was also asking a question, which is a great question, and that's why can't we do a summer internship program for students? So definitely that seems like something that would be a great idea. And he also said that his daughter is actually one of our ambassadors here on this network and everything, in terms of like telling folks what to do with COVID, is working on a business idea and preparing for a pitch similar to like Shark Tank and all of that. Yeah. So definitely, his daughter is also in that youth age as well.
So I have a special deal with Shopify, which I just found out about because I'm actually a professor. I'm not, I don't have a degree, but I'm a professor because I'm teaching some college kids. I'm teaching at a college in Poland, 10 sessions about SEO, and I'm teaching them e-commerce, 10 sessions in August. But I'm getting I'm applying for my students for a free Shopify store for my students. So they do a special deal. So yeah, Ankit, that if you do that, Ankit, then I will actually approach Shopify and get us some free stores for the students.
Sounds good. And he's actually saying that we need to set up a meeting on this at sometime this week. And that's what I love about this platform. Have things happening right during the course of the events and all of that. So we love having that kind of thing going on a regular basis. One of the things that I know that a good friend of mine is actually, it must be a whole lot of March and April babies that are born and everything, because I know that a good friend of mine is actually in the news marketing kind of space and everything, and they are celebrating their birthday, I think they said on Thursday, which would be April 1st, if I remember my dates correct and everything. But definitely it seems like you got your birthday today, so I'm glad that I've got you to come in here on your birthday and everything, Monica. So one of your birthday things was hanging out with me, and definitely I'm glad to know about that as well. And definitely your birthday, Veronica, is coming up very shortly. And then Zach, who does our show Funk Music with Zach, he was actually doing his show on his birthday, because his birthday is actually Sunday, but he was out hanging out on Saturday. And one of the things that he noticed when he went out was that more and more people were out and about, and they weren't all following the protocols and all of that. So I was just wondering your own perceptions about what people are doing, because we definitely want the vaccinations. I don't have mine yet, but we want those in people's arms. But until that happens, are you finding that enough people are actually getting out there and doing that socially distancing stuff that they should be doing? And I'd love to hear both of your thoughts over there in Texas, because I know Texas has had some outbreaks, and definitely I don't know how Colorado's doing, but definitely some of your other areas have not done all that well, like California and everything, Monica. But I'd love to know your thoughts about whether we're doing enough in this pandemic to calm the pandemic down and to get to a more normal state, whatever normality looks like.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I lived in Los Angeles when this started, and then I actually moved to Colorado in the pandemic, which was very interesting. So California, I feel like they did the best they could. I mean, everything shut down very, very strictly there. Everybody I know was, taking it very seriously. Colorado's sort of 50-50. It depends on what part of town you go in, if people are really paying attention or not. Even like there's a guy at my grocery store just doesn't wear a mask and nobody says anything. And I've talked to the managers and they're like, nothing we can do. But then I also filmed and I don't want to say what state because I don't want to blast people, but I filmed in a state where they really did not care. And to the point where, and this was at the height of it, and I had, a bartender telling me, take your mask off, we don't believe in that. And like, it was interesting because it was the first time I had traveled because I have asthma, I'm immunocompromised. So I was a little bit nervous even taking the trip. And then to go to a place where not one person had a mask on. People looked at us like we were crazy. I mean, it was like heads turned when we walked in the room with a mask on. We had people telling us to take them off. So it depends on where you go for sure. I do feel like it's lightening up a little bit now that the vaccine is available. I just got mine, which I'm probably way too confident and should take it down a notch. But so we just went to the mountains, and there were a lot of people, but everybody was following the rules. It's a small town. They were very, very strict about the amount of people that they allowed in places. So there were a lot of people, but everybody was really conscious of the fact that it's a small tourist town and they take it really serious. So it just depends.
Yeah. I think talking about tourists, I know where my mom is in Namibia, Swakopmund is, the whole of Namibia is reliant on tourism. That's probably like the GDPR of Namibia. And so when COVID happened, businesses went under, in a small town of 100,000 people in Swakopmund, they probably have like 100 guest houses. Every second house is turned into a guest house. That's how many tourists they get. And so the businesses slowed down and nothing happened. And the same in Zimbabwe as well. So I have a client that sells Zimbabwean stone sculptures, and they have them here. And so the artists are starving because they also rely on the tourists to come and buy their stuff. And so these guys are literally keeping them afloat by giving them money for food, a little bit of money for food. And they've given, sank a well so they can get fresh water. And it's just fortunate that he has got a little bit of money. But it is really bad for tourist towns. And what I find here is, which I'm very happy about, because I will not talk about the idiocy of people in government, all right? Seriously, especially in my state. So I'm moving. But anyway, but despite that, Kroger has said they will upkeep and you have to wear a mask. I have not been to Trader Joe's, but I'm sure that, most large businesses have been responsible to say you wear a mask or you don't wear a mask. And I'm very happy to say that wherever I've shopped, Target, Kroger's, I don't shop a lot. Where else? That everybody's worn a mask. I had my car detailed and oil change. Everybody was wearing masks. Or they were there was like really a big, there's a table in between everybody else. And we went to a restaurant for lunch on Saturday, I think. Again, it was one of the chain restaurants, and there was a table in between that nobody could sit at, and the waiters were all wearing masks. So, and there was, hand washing and all of that stuff. So yeah, I've got my first. I'm going for my second. My husband has had both since he's older than me. I'm not as old. I'm a baby spring chicken. I keep telling him he's a cradle snatcher. Anyway, so I'm, you still have to be careful, because I was speaking with a friend of mine and she's totally against it. It's like, okay, she cannot have it because she was at 18, she got some vaccination and she had a stroke in the early 20s. But still, not saying that people shouldn't get it unless you have an underlying condition. It's just like, if we done that with polio, we would still have polio. So I keep saying to people, stop being stupid. Really? But, it's like...
Well, government can sometimes be stupid, because I'm still trying to figure out what the heck the Georgia governor was thinking about when he enacted this laws about you can't bring water to people at polling places and things of that nature, which makes no sense to me whatsoever. So he said that you can't bring water or food to folks that are in long lines forever for 3 hours and everything. So that's a new law that they just enacted, I think, last week and everything. But definitely folks are still very puzzled by that law, and they're upset that Biden has called it the new Jim Crow. I actually agree with him that it might be the new Jim Crow if you're going to restrict people's rights to vote and all of that. So definitely, I think that there is some.
It's just crazy, right? I think, and as Monica really said it, with COVID, it is such and it's also so long. It's such a depressant that the craziness seriously has come out, right? We saw it last year, and I think this year some more. I mean, normally my mom calls me when there's a shooting anywhere, and she's worried about me, like it's next door. But it's just the more the craziness comes out, but we just have to be careful, and you cannot influence people. It's like, when they're a party, and they're not going to vote for anybody else, and blah blah blah, and it's like, you can't talk to people and say, or a faith, right? Any faith. You can't say to them, hey, my faith is better, yours is really crap, So I don't think you can change their minds, because they've made up their minds that COVID vaccination is going to be really bad, and you're going to suffer for it. And here's the craziness. But they'll go to a spa and have Botox, animal fat, injected into their faces, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's interesting too. So I also do stuff in the film industry. I do acting. And so I've been on a few different commercial sets, and they're all very different. The first one I went on, they were like, I walked in, no one had masks, and they were like, how comfortable are you with this? And I was like, I prefer we wear masks. And they were like, okay. And then I also did a public service commercial for Colorado Health Department about the vaccine. And I mean, even on set, they were like, you need to take a step back so that we're always 6 feet apart. Like, they were really, really conscious of it. Also because of the content that we were filming. But yeah, it's really interesting seeing how the film industry is dealing with it as well.
Yeah, the film industry has definitely been hit. I know I've worked on a couple of film festivals, and definitely even how they're doing the film festivals have been interesting as well, because a lot of them have gone virtual. But I forgot that you are definitely there in Colorado. And of course, Colorado has been in the news a lot with the guns and everything. But I was wondering your thoughts about that, and just kind of like your own thoughts about that in your life and everything. Because I know Colorado is very much of an independent state. That's one of the things it prides itself on, is its nature of independence and its nature of being kind of that pioneer spirit. But you've moved there. But I know that when I've talked to people, and I've yet to visit that state, but when I've talked to people from Montana, Colorado, I would even argue Alaska, that's kind of the spirit that you get, is kind of that pioneer spirit. But I was wondering your thoughts, and I wanted to hear from Robert as well.
Yeah, I just wanted to say the Boulder one hit pretty hard because so my boyfriend and I both work in grocery stores. He delivers tortillas. I do Instacart. One of the people that was killed was an Instacart shopper. I've shopped in that store. My brother shops in that store. So yeah, that one definitely hit pretty hard. And it, but you also can't fear going to the grocery store. Like, it's something we have to do. You can't avoid malls and movie theaters and grocery stores. But it is weird being in Colorado, because it's very much a 50-50 state. Like I said, I've lived in Michigan's very 50-50. Tennessee very much swings to the right. California very much swings to the left. Now I'm back in Colorado in a 50-50 state. So it's like one of the, me personally, I don't think assault weapons should be allowed. There's no need to have an AR-15. That's just my personal opinion. Yeah, I'm all about you go out and hunt. I obviously come from a hunting family in Michigan. Like, I'm all about the gun rights, but I think there's got to be a breaking limit.
I totally agree. I come from Africa, and I grew up with guns. And my husband refurbishes guns, so we've got old pistols, new pistols, guns and rifles and old rifles, and one of those, really, really old rifles and new stuff. But it is, why would you need an automatic? It's like, seriously, why would you need an automatic? And I think there should be, and I also agree with, they can't restrict guns from people, because the bad element, the criminals will get guns. That's beside the point, right? So when somebody uses it in a criminal activity, it is it is what it is. We can't stop that, right? But you should go through a safety course, right? I mean, it's the same thing as people buying a boat. They can buy a boat. You don't need a driver's license. I mean, there are idiots driving boats. I mean, seriously, they have their kids with their feet hanging off the front of the boat without a jacket, right? So it's the same thing. So if we want to, we have to go. You have to go through a course. You have to do a safety course check, right? You have to prove that you can put your guns away, and this will under lock and key check. I mean, I know that goes into your privacy, but you know what? Your son can be totally depressed, and you don't know about it. And we have had a suicide in my brother's family. His stepdaughter committed suicide, and you don't know when people go into this situation. Everybody goes, "Oh my God, I didn't know he felt like that or she felt like that," right? So you got to make sure that you put those steps in place. And people, you know what? People are stupid.
Yeah.
What can I say?
In Japan, they have like every single year you have to do a mental health check. There's a 2-week waiting process after you pass the course before you can pick up the gun. It's just too easy here. You know, and AR-15 is like, I don't know. I think my grandpa was saying like 15,000. It's accessible. Like make it so it's not affordable, you know. And then if people want it, they can work for it. They can save up, whatever. But like we can't just have it so easy for people to get these things.
Yeah.
Robert, I know one of the things that you were going to do, because actually I think that's one of the things you're supposed to be doing a live feed of, is actually going, and I know that you're involved in hunting, but you're doing hunting for food, and definitely it's not so much of that destructive kind of hunting. But I'd love to know your thoughts about this as well, because I do know that hunting is part of that Alaska culture, and it's definitely part of what you're about, because I think you were going to be doing a live feed with Tim of you going out and about hunting spruce hens, if I remember correctly.
We can't hear you.
Can you hear us? Oh, now you're really soft.
Yeah, he's even softer than he was before.
I love technology, baby.
Gotta love that technology stuff.
I know, right? I know.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. That'll work. I just can't hear you very well, but as long as you can hear me, I'll talk.
Yes.
I guess.
Yes.
I can hear you. Okay. So yeah, a lot to talk about with the gun thing and with hunting. I really believe that gun rights should be case sensitive per demographic, because there's really no reason to have a hunting rifle in New York City, and there's no reason to have an AR-15 out here in Alaska. I don't go hunting moose with an Uzi, or I have a shotgun with me because that's the biggest bang that you can bear to save yourself from a bear when you're outside. Doing tours for people from all over the world, I take them to the most remote tourist destination in the world, Kennecott. They have about 20 people year-round that live there, about 4 or 5 homesteads. And in the summertime, it fluctuates up to 95 to 100,000 people. And it's all privately owned, and the last 60 miles is all gravel road up through the mountains. Definitely bear country. And you end in the mountains, in the Wrangell Mountains, where they had the Kennecott mines. It was the largest copper mine in the world in 1900. And it was before the Depression, and so it was open for about 15 years, and then the Depression hit in the 20s and the teens, and they had to shut down the Kennecott mines, but it hasn't been tapped completely yet. Really cool history with the mines. They built a railroad all the way from Cordova. I don't know if you know where Cordova is, but it's on the ocean and 300 miles inward with a back in the steam engine days. So they didn't have electric stuff and cats and bulldozers. It was horses and hitting, so making these amazing bridges and train structures out of wood, and then tapping this mountain in the middle of nowhere. You're talking about a pioneer. This guy that found the copper in the mountains back there, he was studying the natives, the Athabascans, and he was way back out in the woods, and he saw a little discoloration in the mountains, and he realized that the natives were using a malleable material, and it ended up being copper. And so it still is considered one of the largest deposits of copper in the world, and it's the highest quality copper too. It's 85 to 90% copper ore. So it's just absolutely beautiful. I've got a bunch of it around. If my camera was working better, I'd show you guys. I got a lot to show everybody. I just gotta get a better system here. So on the gun thing again,
it's kind of a touchy subject because in Alaska, you know, I live about half of my food and my sustenance is subsistence. So I do require a rifle to basically qualify and be categorized as a subsistence liver. I live on this homestead property my whole life, so I have a fish wheel. I build a fish wheel with my grandpa used to when he was alive, but we build a new fish wheel every year and put it in the Copper River, and we get hundreds of salmon. So there's no limit on the salmon we can get. Can't sell it, but there's just a limit on the time. So there's a week or two in June that I can have the wheel in the water. And I have a big smokehouse about 30 feet high. I can smoke about 30 or 40 fish at a time in there. And it really breaks down to guns. When they threaten to take the guns away, it's threatening our lives here. And so it's kind of opposite, kind of a yang to you guys' yang. So like we're scared about the guns being taken here, and there's very, very, very low crime, you know, and like I graduated in a class of 6 people. You said 100,000 people in a town small. You know, Anchorage is half the population of Alaska lives in Anchorage, and the population of Anchorage is about 300,000. And so, and Alaska is huge. So you can tell, you know, my nearest neighbor is about a mile away, and there's no banks or shopping marts or Kroger or anything like that. So we can't just go to the store and get, you know, I've got to squeeze the ticket, you know. So, but you guys can still hear me, right? Everything okay? Good. Okay. Hey, I'm so glad to see you guys. I can't wait till this works out better so I can just actually really feel like I'm having a good conversation. Because the device is small too, I'm like trying to see your guys' face. I can't tell if you're smiling or, you know, I love LinkedIn, you guys, and I love this program. And Mark, thank you so much for inviting me. Just to open it. This is my second live ever.
That's wonderful. Robert, what do you do?
I own Alaska Remote Transportation and Tours. It's a small custom comfortable travel. So when you fly into Alaska, there's basically two places you fly into, Anchorage or Fairbanks.
Yeah.
And so I go to Fairbanks, it's like 400 miles away, but they can either pick them up at Anchorage or they can take a little plane to Valdez, and then I take them from there to the Reno-St. Elias National Park, and it's about 300 miles away from the airport. A lot of people they come out here wanting to see, you know, Alaska, not realizing that it is so big.
Huge.
I mean,
it's huge.
I live 20 miles from Anchorage, but like on this big map of Alaska, that's only like this far. You know?
Robert, we should connect because I've been trying to plan out a trip to Alaska to get into the wilderness for my travel show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sounds like a great idea. Now, all three of y'all are entrepreneurs, and I definitely want to get back to another hard-hitting issue as well. But before we get to that, all three of y'all are entrepreneurs, and I was just wondering, what is one of the things that you wish that you had learned as an entrepreneur that you now know that you wish you knew way back when you started on your entrepreneurship journey? So I'll say Veronica for last, and she's had the longest of this entrepreneurship journey. But definitely, Monica, what's something that you wish you had known before you started the journey that you now do know?
Treat it as a business. I think, I know when I started my travel show, it was a way to get auditions to be a host because I was an MC and a host. So I never treated it as a business. I was just shelling out money to travel and film and edit and, you know, all these things. And then about 3 years in, I was like, this is not sustainable, and had to create a business plan and figure out how to scale and all of those things that you should learn right off the bat so that you have a goal. Know your why, know your audience, and treat it as a business.
Yeah, I agree with you on that because one of the things that Brandon does, and I'm sure that you've probably done the same thing, and I want to hear Robert's idea of some of that he wished he had known as well. But one of the things that he did, and I want to know if you did the same, Monica, is he started creating products. So like I said, he's got T-shirts. He's actually got IBM TV. He's also got products now, but he was doing that as part of his travel show that he was doing on YouTube and a number of other things before he came to our platform. And he still does it on YouTube, but he's got hoodies, T-shirts, cups, a number of other kind of products. So he definitely had the product as well as the business. So I was wondering, is that something that you did as well? Try to get some of that product placement kind of stuff of your own products?
I did, and it was a big mistake for me. Unfortunately, you know, I mean, my show is called Monica Goes. Nobody wants a T-shirt that says Monica Goes other than my mom. So I think that's part of it too, is you have to figure out what is actually converting and then double down on that. So you know, my goal when I started the show was I wanted to inspire people to face their fears. And I love national parks. And so I was outdoors doing all these adventures, unfortunately, that doesn't pay the bills. That's always going to be a part of my show. But it was the tourism boards that were hiring me to come and create film for them and buying my photography and buying my B-roll. And once that clicked, then I knew how to scale. Then I knew exactly who to pitch to. So those are my money makers so that I can go do the facing fears and the nature stuff on my own time to kind of fill in the gaps.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like I said, I'm definitely ready to get to Robert and his things that he learned. But Derek Rowe is a gentleman here in Durham, North Carolina, and he actually, and I need to put you in touch with him as well, but he actually has been going around filming the national parks. So he's actually been doing like these whole kind of videos of the national parks with his video company. So I know he's done quite a few of them, but hasn't done all of them. But he's got a goal of hitting all of them at some point or another. But he's definitely based here, and he's got his own video company in addition to some other companies that he's working with, including some companies that are trying to do some environmentally friendly things, like around us not doing so much with plastic and doing some more better kind of recycling and all of that. So I'll put you in touch with him. But Robert, what are some of the things that you wish that you had known about business that you now do know that you didn't know then? I mean, that you now do know, but you didn't know when you started, that you wish you knew way back in the early part?
Well, when I started my business, I had been kind of spreading my idea to my dad and my family and whoever I could talk to about it, and nobody had the passion for it that I did. And they really just didn't really think that I was even going to do it. So as I was launching, I didn't have a team. And so I did it all by myself, preemptively, without money or backer or credit card or investor. And if I would have gotten a team together somehow, if I would have been able to network on LinkedIn or something, it would have been available in 2016 for me at that point, I probably would build a team first. I can't do everything. It's just hard to get people to get excited about your baby. You say treat it as a business, and that's probably very good advice, because I'm pretty emotionally attached to my business. I've got a great business plan, and I've actually worked it out to 5 different branches on the business of being able to pull within 2 years.
And what about you, Veronica? Like I said, you've been doing it for a number of years, so I'm sure there's lots of lessons that you wish you had known back in the day and everything, that you're now sitting there going like, wow, I wish I had known that back in like the early days of whenever you were starting business and everything versus now. So what are some of the things that you wish that you had known then, now that you wish you had known then?
Well,
it's
sorry.
Lot more expensive.
Yes.
It's way, way, way more expensive as if you're doing tours with somebody. The government and the state, they want their insurance before the rubber hits the road. So before you spend any kind of money or anything back up from your customers,
you've got to, So Robert, I think the biggest thing is you got to know your numbers. You got So and as Monica says, is realizing and treating it like a business. I was born into sales. My grandmother had a store, a general store in Namibia while I was growing up. So I grew up around a business. So I think
I would have enjoyed that.
Yeah, right. But and so she showed me you can do anything. She made hats. She made beautiful dresses for weddings. She sold shoes and candy and anything you can think of. So anything is possible, right? Anything is possible. And so I don't know. I haven't decided what I want to be yet when I grow up. So I'm still having way too much fun, and I've had so many careers. I was a construction builder, designer house. I did $1 million houses. In Holland, I did tax assessment for tax consultancy for expats and moved money around internationally, millions of dollars. And I had a recruiting company here in America. I grew to $5 million. Again. Okay, so there's so much, but one of the things is that I would change, maybe I wouldn't. So here's the thing is, if you don't fail, right, how do you learn? So with my $5 million company, I was factoring my invoices $150,000 a month. So I was paying for somebody to give me money so I could pay my guys. And I had a really bad experience with a partner. I mean, I was $250,000 in debt. We sued him. I got half of it back. I should have got everything back, but I was way too honest. But again, if I didn't have that experience, I couldn't build on it, right? Because I really truly believe there's always a silver lining. So whatever you experience, and there's the good with the bad, you learn something. It's something in your toolbox, and you can go to the next and to the next adventure, right? So even Robert, when you have your business and you're not going to change your business, right? You always got to think of what's closest to the money. What Monica said is, what's closest to the money? Don't mess around with stuff that doesn't make you money, because you have to pay the bills, right? So what's closest to the money is the first thing. And then, and if you partner with somebody, oh boy, don't employ family. Don't employ family. I mean, seriously, right? Because it's really hard to work. Yeah, it's really hard to work with family because they're very cheeky. You can't fire them. And then sometimes it's good. I've had good and bad partners. And then So and making sure that you have a business plan, making sure you stick to your business plan. So Monica said visualization, right? Mm-hmm. You got to keep your visualization in front of you all the time. What are you working for and where you want to go? You got to know where you want to go. So, and I've been extremely fortunate in my life. I've had so many experiences, and there's no end to it. Believe me, my mom's 85 years old. She's got 8 clients that she does tax consultancy for, and she's not going to give it up because she's scared her brain's going to go. So, and she enjoys it, but she can do her face and her hair, and she has her own money, right? So, and plan more longer than 3 years. Plan longer than 5 years. You got to have your 90-day thing, right? Keep your eye on the money, and then plan 20 years out. Right? Because when we're in business, we tend to stay in business, right? And then if it changes, so what? Right? Go with the flow.
Monica, that actually raised a question, and I was going to know your thoughts, and actually everybody on the panel's thoughts about those folks that are, I like to call them the dream stealers, the folks that will actually bash your ideas and kind of like get you to think that you don't have a great dream or a great vision. I'm sure that all three of you have dealt with that. I know that I've dealt with that. And sometimes they can come out of family or close friends and definitely out of that environment. But I'd love to know your thoughts about how you deal with them and also how you deal with what I call self-defeat, because I do think that sometimes we defeat ourselves before we even get involved in the journey. I know that there have been jobs that I was probably very much qualified for, but I'd already told myself or would continuously tell myself, and this is even late life because I'm in my late 50s now, where I would sit there, and this was maybe when I was in my 40s and 50s, and be like, no, I don't need to apply for that job. There's no way they're going to hire me. There's no way that they're going to do that. There's no way they're going to do that. And by the time I finally talked myself into doing it, they've already hired somebody. So I think that there's a lot of that as well. So I'd love to know your thoughts, and then also hear from both Robert and Veronica about that as well, because I do sometimes think that too often we let negative forces hit us out also. But Monica, I'll start with you.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think in terms of other people, you have to understand that that's coming from their own self-limiting beliefs, right? And if it's somebody that you can cut out of your life, cut out of your life. But a lot of times we can't do that, right? It's a partner, it's a family member, it's a friend. So then you have to surround yourself with other entrepreneurs. You just have to, because they're the only people that are going to understand going after these crazy things, right? So have some people that you know you can go to, but then also making a plan for yourself and knowing your why. That will stop both the negative from the other people as well as the negative from yourself. So as long as I can go back to my why, and then I go so far as to even write a letter of all the successes I've had, really talking myself up, you're a badass, you've done this, this, and this. So when those days do kick in that you don't feel it, you can go back and you have evidence of all of the things that you've done before. It's also a good trick if you're ever like going into an interview or you're just like you really self-conscious about some stuff, read that letter.
Yes. Yes, that is so true. Having the recruiting company that's what I kept telling people when they go on a job. You can do it, right? You can do it. You can do anything. But unfortunately, we limit ourselves. Sorry.
Yep, definitely. I agree with you. What about yourself, Robert? What are some of the ways that you have tried to deal with folks that have been giving you that negative vibe that they don't have the same kind of dreams that you have, but they might be coming from your family or your friends and things along that line? Or even sometimes, as I just stated, in my own case, you kind of defeat your own self before even going on the journey. So I was wondering how you dealt with that and if you've had that experience.
So with me, is my dad, my biggest influencer in my life, and he's the one that is my hardest critic, besides myself, and so he doesn't believe in he doesn't think that I can do it, and he doesn't support me in it, and he doesn't believe me, really, honestly. And he lives in Anchorage, a couple 100 miles away, and it's just something that my dad has always kind of been, and so
Yeah.
I'm always trying to kind of impress him a little bit, and
Mhm.
dad. But the main reason I do my why, the main reason I'm here is this is my grandpa's property, and I want to stay here. I lived here my whole life, and I want to be able to employ myself. I want to be able to survive here, and there's no employment around.
Mhm.
So if you don't work for the school or the state or the LDS type, something like that, you don't have a way to access money. And so I'm used to living this lifestyle out here, but I get a lot of slack from my family. They're very negative. They're very negative. They fight with each other a lot, and I get nervous around fighting and yelling. I distance myself from my family, and maybe sometimes I feel like maybe I get twisted around where I'm out here because I want to get away rather than go toward it. And I did that in college too. When I went to UAA, I stayed in the dorms because originally I was so excited. I graduated at 16, president of my class. I had a scholarship for school, and I was ready to go. I was ready to go. And then my parents broke up right when I graduated. And so I ended up going to college to get away from the drama. And then instead of going to school. So it really got me twisted up. And so I just kind of ended up back here in the woods again. But I love it here. It's beautiful.
That's amazing to be able to live where you want to live. I think that is your ultimate, you can't get any better than that. And trying to overcome parental disapproval, I tell you something, it will never go away. Your parents can be 90 and you can be 20 years later 60, 70. It is still the same thing. You will still feel like a child, right? So that never goes away. But I think as Monica said, having that positive, what my friend did, she had, and she's a very negative person, and so she has to really bolster herself up. She would get sticky notes all around her mirror, and she would say those mantras every single day. I don't know, she had 30 of them while she was brushing her teeth or whatever she was doing, every single day, to keep her positive, because her mother is so negative and has been all her life, right? And she's an amazing person. She actually helped me build my recruiting company. If I can have her in my business, oh my Lord. But and she's doing her own thing. I encourage her to do her own thing. But you can never go. There's no mental. Having a parent just be negative about it. You just have to continually be positive. That's the only way to do it, right? And believe in yourself. You've got to believe in yourself, because you're the only person that can literally overcome something. And Monica going through divorce, and there's depression because you failed something. The only way you can get through that is believing in yourself and knowing in your heart that you're on the right path, right? And having that total faith, and it doesn't matter whether you're Christian or whatever you are, just having faith that you will make it. And if you just have to, it's like take a step, and I can do it. I can do it. Think of that the little train, up the hill. I can do it. I can do it.
Because one of the things that I've admired about the Latin culture, and I would even argue that I admired it sometimes about the Asian culture as well, is there, and we used to have it in certain parts of American society as well, but then people started going more spread out and going families being spread all throughout the country. But a lot of times there's that love of family and that support that you get from the family, because a lot of times I know within the Latin community and definitely in the Asian community, you might have people that are definitely seeming like there's a lot of people in one small family environment, but they're also supporting each other. So from those are created Ortegas.
I have to disagree, okay? I don't care what nation you're coming from. You can be in an Asian family and there can be those negative people in your family. It's got nothing to do with what color your skin is, what tribe you are, what country you're from. You will have those negative people in your family. Believe me, it's
cultural normalcies in different cultures and different ethnics that people have different inhibitions and insecurities and stuff. So they have different views and they're biased on different things. And we will never understand that because we've never actually been in those shoes before. Never actually faced the same dangers they've had. And so I definitely am not racist or prejudiced in any way. Sometimes I catch myself when I use an ethnic name or racial name and just trying to explain a demographic, and it kind of gets twisted a little bit, and I find myself defending people, defending what I say, because it's just the world has twisted words backward.
I know.
And it's leftist movement that we won't get into the politics.
No. I think the only thing that should be women and men.
Yeah.
Right? And I also get upset if women go, well, we're all for women power. I said, what about the poor men power? So I was, obviously here in America, I love America. Believe me, I think America is like a smorgasbord just there for the taking, baby. There's nowhere in the world where you have 350, maybe a little bit more, million people in one country, right? Nowhere in the world, nowhere. I don't care where it is, right? Because every single state is like a small country and we're all under one big umbrella. But, and I was going to say something amazing, but I forgot now. So I came to America and then they told me I can be a woman in business and I can get into businesses, corporate, because I'm a woman in business. And this was awesome, right? And I was African American as well, since I'm from Africa and I'm now American. But I was told from small business liaison that it's not African American anymore. They're going to call it black just because I'm claiming it. But so you have that, right? But you have that opportunity. But the poor white guy is sitting there in the audience when they were telling us all about, this cool stuff that we can do. And he gets up and he says, and what about us? And we all go, sit down, idiot. You can't do anything. But it's also a type of discrimination, right? I know that the white males have had the opportunities, blah, 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 in the day of when. But, it's like they still a small business. They're still struggling. So there is so much.
If you think of it this way, I'm single, in my 30s, white male.
Yes. It's a dream on, baby.
I don't have an indigenous tribe to go to. I don't even really know my ancestry really. I know I'm part of Tom, so I wouldn't even be able to get back to my roots. So watch people fighting, and being racist to each other, because I haven't faced it. Because I just live so remote. And like you, a white woman living in South Africa, I'm sure that, but you are white, right?
Yeah.
Living in South Africa, so you must be able to face it, on both ends, kind of. You probably had.
You got to. Yeah. I mean, I lived during apartheid. I grew up during apartheid. I lived it. I had colored friends, what we call people that have white and a black parent, so they're colored. It's and they were not allowed to. We weren't allowed to sit at a cafe together. They weren't allowed in the restaurants or anywhere, right? So I lived through that, and my mom's friend had black hair and was really, really tightly, and she was told to sit in the back of the bus. So, but it's you just have to, it is a mindset, and you can't change people's minds.
So we have any colored people.
I see Robin's in the back. You got the husband still going back in the back there and everything. So I saw that he just kind of like rolled over there and said hello.
Yeah, my hubby Roy's working outside.
Yeah, Roy, I meant. Yeah, Roy's working in the background and everything, so he's getting his work on. Monica, what are some of your thoughts about that? Because definitely I know that it's definitely become more of an issue, not just because, as I mentioned earlier, Black Lives Matter, but we're also hearing the conversation around what's going on with the border and all of that. And definitely there in Texas, but also California, and a number of kids, unfortunately, are coming across the border and unoccupied. But I was just wondering, that was the other heart of the topic that I was going to get to. What your thoughts around that, being from the Latin community and everything. So I just wondered your thoughts around that. Dan, I can't remember, like I said, whether you're a parent or not, but I do know that you were a wife, but I didn't know whether y'all had kids or not. But I just wondered, as one that is fairly young, your thoughts about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I am going to have to hop off. I'm so sorry. My book ended up coming out today instead of Thursday, so I'm getting like blown up with everything going on, which is all good stuff. But yeah, so I am half and half. My dad was born in Mexico. My mom looks like Veronica, like blonde hair, So it's interesting because I've gotten it from both sides. I lived in the South where I got people commenting on my tan. And then I also lived in California where I had people angry that I didn't speak Spanish. Yeah. So it's like you're never enough of one side or the other. And, I went to England and they also commented a lot on my tan. Like, oh, she's a brown girl, huh? Like, so I've kind of seen it from all sides. But it's definitely interesting, like being in America, it's like you're not enough of one or the other. You're either you're not proud of your heritage because you don't speak Spanish, or you are Hispanic, so you stand out in a place. Like it's definitely one of those things I feel like I get both sides of.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you. I found that both. I mean, we are our worst enemy, right? We perpetuate the whatever's going on. It gets perpetuated over and over and over again. I mean, can we just live with each other, right? I mean, so actually, I'm going to learn Spanish.
I think it is good that people are acknowledging that there is this discrepancy, though, because I don't think we did before. Because I never talked to people about the fact that I felt racism from both sides. It just wasn't something you talked about. And now all of a sudden, I've got people ask me about it, and it's just interesting. Like even having conversations with my dad, because when I moved to the South, he was like, "You might deal with some stuff, but I actually got more of it in California." With Hispanic families that didn't want me to wait on them because I'm not proud of my heritage and don't speak Spanish. So it's like I never felt enough of either one. And so I'm glad that it's finally an open conversation that people are having so that we can understand each other's experience. And kind of like I said to Mark, I don't understand the Asian American experience, the African American experience. So it's a time where now that we're having these conversations, I'm open to learning about other people's stories as well, which I think is a good place to start.
No, I think that's one of the greatest things that we can do is definitely learn about our cultures and be proud of our cultures, but at the same time, not try to knock everybody over the head with your viewpoints and everything, but just kind of like share and be proud. Because I know that where I grew up at in North Carolina, there was a small rural town in North Carolina called Warrenton, but we actually had 3 homecoming queens. We had a homecoming queen that was of European American background, a homecoming queen that was African American background, and a homecoming queen that was Native American, because there was a tribe that was there as well. And that tribe has some history, because some people think of them as an authentic Native American tribe. Some people think that they're more of like a made up tribe and things of that nature. So that has its own little history as to whether it's an authentic tribe or not. But as I've said, even on this show and other shows, I've got a cousin that actually claims more of that Native American heritage. She gets very much involved in the powwows, involved in the dance competition. And my whole thing is like, if she wants to consider herself that part, and we do acknowledge that we have Native American heritage, but if she wants to consider that the majority part of her heritage, I'm not going to argue with her. I'm going to support her when she goes and does her powwows. I'm going to, if I can get to them, I'll go there, and I'll be there as a supporter, as a family member, and not one of those negative family members that you were talking about, Veronica, but I'm just going to support her in her way that she perceives herself. And I would imagine that's the same of folks that are of mixed heritage, like what you are, Monica, and everything, that you might have some people that want to claim more of the white side, and some people that might want to claim more of the Spanish side, and some people that might just want to acknowledge both sides and acknowledge that they have both of that sides of their heritage. But whichever way they want to go in that viewpoint of themselves, I'm going to support them. But I do think that we need to, what you just said, Monica, try to understand people of different cultures and learn different cultures. I know that even though I don't have any Asian blood at all, as far as I know, in my bloodline and everything, I love hearing like K-pop and some of this other kind of music that is out there, and learning new parts of cultures that aren't even part of my own heritage or anything, but it's just something that I like to learn new all the time. Now, there might be some music that I hear and I'll be like, okay, I've heard it once or twice, didn't really like it, so it won't go into my rotation of music and everything, but that's just me and my personal taste. But I do like to give everything a chance. So like I said, I've even heard some good Polish music, the good polkas, and some good Irish music and good music of different kinds of cultures. And I just think that that's something we need to do more of, is learn, be proud of our heritage, but at the same time, not try to abuse that as well. So I do sometimes think that sometimes people will co-opt heritages as well, and they will try to take it over. We saw that with blues music and jazz music and things of that nature. So not necessarily supporting the people that are the roots of that music, and then kind of like taking it and claiming it as your own. So that's where I have an issue, when it's claimed as your own and you don't necessarily give credit to the people who the music came from. I'm just using music as an example. And I could even say that in the hip hop community, blues, jazz, and a number of other things. So I don't mind. I'll give an example. I don't mind having, say, a Justin Bieber or somebody like that use hip hop or things of that nature, as long as they acknowledge where it came from and its roots and all of that. Now, if they kind of like claim it as if it's something that just came out of the blue and that they're the main stars of it, that's where I have an issue.
Yeah.
Well, I as a white woman, I grew up in two cultures as well. There was an Afrikaans culture, and there's an English culture and a German culture. Right. So I spoke 3 languages at home, because I come from Afrikaans, German, and English. And, then I'm not Afrikaans enough. And believe me, I can sling the language. Or I'm not English enough. Or I'm not German enough, So I actually grew up in that environment as well. And you tend to...
I'm not also native enough.
Yes, exactly, I mean, it's just crazy, right? It's just crazy. So I have to literally change my accent when I speak Afrikaans to make them realize that I am actually Afrikaans. Hello. So, and I went to German school, Afrikaans school, and English university. I only lasted for a year, but I failed. But still, so I had the 3 cultures, and believe me, you either were Afrikaans school or English school, and not the twain shall meet.
Yeah.
So, right. Understood. And like I said, I know Monica said she's got to get ready to bounce, and we still got a few more minutes. But one thing that I wanted to do before Monica got ready to go is one of the things I try to do with all my guests on just about all the shows that I do and everything is, one, if you could tell folks where they can get your book from and how they can reach you and all of that, that's the most important thing. And then secondly, one of the things that I try to get people to do is, like I said, this is the international broadcast media, and we've got folks that are both doing shows from around the world as well as listeners from around the world. So I always get my guests to give their words of positivity, their words of encouragement. Y'all have given some of that during the course of this interview and everything. But if there's any specific thing in terms of words of encouragement, words of positivity, this is your opportunity to do that. And if there's anything that you haven't shared that you would like to share, this is the opportunity to do that as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me on. This has been really fun. So my travel show is on YouTube at Monica Goes Show. That's also where you can find me across social media. Everything is on my website, monicagoes.com. And my book, The Power of Pivoting, is on Amazon as of today. So, yeah.
So, and is there any words of encouragement that you would like to share with folks as well? So any words of encouragement that you want to share with our audience and all of that? And also, I'm sure that everybody, including, I think, Ankin, who said that his birthday is coming up in several weeks or everything, because he did send all of y'all a happy birthday shout out and everything. So he said his is in 70 days. So, and mine is in probably about that time too, because mine is in July. But definitely what are you doing for your birthday, and any words of encouragement?
Yeah, well, I went to the mountains over the weekend. So today, actually, when I'm done with this, we're going to go get a cake and some dinner and stuff like that. But words of encouragement, I would just say be kind to yourself. I feel like that is the number one thing right now with everything going on. Just really check in with yourself, be kind. and then try to see setbacks and all of that as setups and just learn to lean into the pivot. So.
Yep.
Thank you so much for having me, guys.
No problem.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, that's Monica going, and definitely I'm glad that she was a guest. She was a truly amazing guest and everything. Definitely, Veronica, if you would, really quickly, and I'm going to get to your words of positivity and encouragement as well, but what kind of things would you like to say about this lovely commerce event that you've got going on with Tim Sohn, my good friend, as well as Brian being one of your speakers? You mentioned some of that. So tell folks the date and also a little bit more about that, and then I'll get to Robert as well.
Okay, brilliant. So it's a virtual e-commerce summit. It's going to be April 10th and 11th for 2 days. It's only from 10 till 2. We have an amazing networking event. If you're just going to listen, it's for free. If you want to be part of the VIP, where you get the videos and you can win prizes and have conversations with the speakers, it's, I think, only $47, which is not a lot. And I have amazing sponsors. One of them is OmniSend marketing tool. Another one is StreamYard, by the way. And then I have Wave.video and Hello Woofy. So that blah, 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 blah. So anyway, and there's from Instagram to e-commerce and QuickBooks. And there's so much information that you're going to get. And you get an action item every single time you listen to somebody. And it's only going to be short stints. Oh, and I have a panel discussion with e-commerce owners, and they're going to be talking about their experiences and what they would do if they had to change it. And so you can get hold of me anywhere, Veronica Jeans, Shopify Queen, and also you can buy my book, Shopify Made Easy, because that will show you literally how to set up your store, how to set it up properly, step for step, lots of screenshots, and positive. Just do it. Because
definitely got to just do it. Yeah, I agree with that. That's something we need more of in everything.
Start something, right? When you look back at the end of the year and you go, you know what, I did it. Or you're going to look back and go, I should have done it, right? So right.
Yep, that's very true. We do need to see Molly before you go and everything, because like I said, I've alluded to her. So is Molly hiding back there somewhere on the boat, or is Molly somewhere else? So definitely we need to see Molly. Can't have a show without Molly the Giraffe making an appearance. So there's Molly. Molly the Giraffe has made her appearance as well.
Molly.
Molly has made the appearance. Got to have Molly in the house as well. So Molly is always appearing on things like Brian's show and a number of other shows as well. So always glad to have that energy there as well. Robert, what are some of the things that you're looking forward to? I know that you're taking Tim's class. And by the way, Tim is one of the professors of Veronica's course and all of that. So you're in the middle of Tim's course. And I think that later on this week, you're going to be going out with the classmates and showing them you doing the hunting and all of that, as from what I'm understanding. So definitely tell us how that course is going and some of the things that you've got going on in your life.
The course is fantastic. I received a DM from Tim Sohn. He reached out to me and had told me about his class. I didn't really know anything about it, but it was a pay what you can, $50 to $300, and it was a 6-week course. And I've been just, as much opportunities as I can take. If I can introduce my passion to the project, then it will succeed. And so I just fill out every single corner, every single track. And Tim's class is just amazing. There's so much value I've gotten out of it. I feel like totally, really, really undervalued price on that. But he's got to know how valuable it is. That's why he does it to help others. That's exactly what I want to do. Is kind of, I've been through some tough times in my life, but it takes a lot to get it out. And it takes the right platform and the right, live or podcast to be able to do anything like that. So it's like I'm feeling my groove and where I can kind of. I've listened to your podcast for the first time today, Mark, and I do apologize, but I tried getting with everybody. I was doing my response to everybody after being on Brian Live the other day, yesterday, and it was just so much fun, and I felt endearment from people, and I want to make sure that I made a promise to God years ago that if I ever become influential or that I would use that to create jobs. And so I want to make sure that I'm not, one thing, I'm not trying to scare my clients away with religion, stuff with paraphernalia, but at the same time, I did make that promise, to make sure that people understand that I'm grateful for the powers that are higher than me, and so I submit to a higher power, and so in the morning I get up and I thank God that the electricity didn't go out, if it's 40 below outside, at 40 degrees below zero with no clothes on, 15 minutes is the life expectancy outside. So it's really scary. It's scary. I'll have dreams sometimes and say, oh, I think I heard the stove go off. Okay, good, electricity is still on. I've got a wood stove and stuff for backup. So to encourage you, Veronica, I really love your energy. Just so much fun. I saw you were on with Brian Shulman too, weren't you? Good, yeah. So, and I looked at your profile about the summit, and I plan on attending that. And I plan on, however I can integrate and, just be part of the group and inspire, I'm going to do that.
And Robert, if you need any help, let me know. I run 2 workshops a week, and we can do a strategy session so you can get, I'll, give you some ideas and everything. So, yeah, connect with me.
Definitely. That's going to be a great connection for you and everything. Veronica is an amazing lady. She's done some great things with us here on the International Broadcast Media Network and all of that. So definitely we find her to be a great person and looking forward to doing more work with her and everything. So definitely, if you get a chance, Robert, definitely connect with her and all of that, because she is truly amazing and truly very energetic and definitely has several fans here on the network. I'm getting ready to go and do my other show, which is actually going to be talking about different abilities and all of that, and that'll be coming up at 4 o'clock. But before I go, one of the things I was curious about from you, Robert, is, like I said, I mentioned the Northern Lights earlier, and you definitely talked a little bit about that. But just really quickly, and I know this may be a long answer, but what are some of the things that you think are folks' misconceptions about Alaska? Because like I said, Alaska is one of the lighter states, and it's definitely not one of the states that I've gotten to visit yet, and know it's on my wish list of places to go, but I haven't gotten there yet. But what are some of the misconceptions you think people have of your fair state?
They don't realize how big it is, how large it is, how open people are with their guns for protection against wildlife. Bears are very, very dangerous. If you see a bear, they've seen you first, and they've already decided what they're going to do with you. So I always just say, I don't want to see a bear. I don't want to see a bear. Because, my clients do and stuff, there's 5 minutes on the road, but people get too close and people die because they think the bear is cute and that they're, especially during salmon season and stuff on the rivers, people trying to fit their family, and it's really dangerous. So what I try to enlighten people on when they're doing dinner is try to let people know that when you leave Anchorage, that's the last stoplight you're going to see. We're going to go 300 miles out, and the pavement's going to end, the electricity's going to end, you're not going to have a cell phone, you're not going to be able to get online, you're not going to be able to charge stuff, so you're going to be, you have to trust me, basically, and so I just tell them, be aware of how big it is, and the landscape is, there's tall mountains, and there's really deep canyons, there's rainforests, and there's everything in Alaska. You can get lost. Tell people that you gotta give yourself more time.
Gotcha. Because I know the other thing that people oftentimes think about Alaska is the dog races and things of that nature, and I don't know how popular those are, but I know a lot of times when people think of Alaska, they think about those Iditarod races or whatever. I probably mispronounced it, but it's the great races around with the dogs and everything.
February, March is our Iditarod time. It's the same time as we usually have a rendezvous, for a rendezvous they call it. That's like Alaska, that's our Anchorage, like Alaska Fair. But they didn't really have the festivities this year because of the COVID. Usually they have the entire downtown Anchorage, like the street. They put a bunch of snow on the street so that they can launch the rock race. And then right down Fifth Avenue, they kick the dogs down the road, off the snow down the road, and they got to Wasilla, 1049. Yeah, I know that because of the song. Have you heard the song? When I get back to my home, I can tell that tale. I did the Iditarod Trail. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh, cool. Yes. Okay, I have to go as well.
Yeah, I'm going to get everybody off because, like I said, I've got to go and do my other show also. So definitely for both of you, and this is just really quickly before I get ready to bring in some of the other shows that we have, Aaron, and some of the commercials about them, because that's usually how I wrap up things along with that radio show theme that they've given me and all of that. But anything that you don't feel that we've covered or any thought that you've got that you would like to share before I bring on some of the other shows that we've got, including Talking Upstream and Win with Win and a couple of others as well. So I'll start with you, Veronica. Is there anything that you would like to share with our audience that you haven't shared today that you just want to leave them with and all of that?
No, just, you know what? It's COVID. It's hard. Just step it up and be positive, keep smiling, and just go with your passion. Just stay with your passion and go with your passion and do it, right? Do it. I
agree with you on that. No doubt about that.
Because you're going to fall, just get up and get going. You're going to fall, get up, get going. You know, we'll go get through this, and we're going to look back and just go, you know, COVID was 2 years, but it wasn't really that long, you know? So, yeah.
I agree. What about yourself, Robert? Is there anything that you haven't covered that you like to touch base with before I bring in a couple of these shows that we've got and get ready to go do my other show, Mullings, which I do, and he just dropped. So I'll just go for doing the promos and all of that. So definitely Veronica and Robert and also Monica, it was great having all three of y'all on, and definitely look forward to having extended conversations with y'all later on as well. But I definitely felt that we touched a lot, including around COVID and around pivoting and around a number of other things. And I'm hoping that we got Veronica some new folks that'll come and sign up for her course and all of that. So always glad when Veronica joins me. Always glad even to see husband Roy of hers in the background walking by every once in a while. So that is great also. So definitely want to thank you for joining me and all of that. And I'm going to bring up this Talking Upstream and maybe a couple of the other shows and get on out of here myself very shortly as well. So
thanks
once again, Veronica, and I look forward to catching you in the very near future.
Okay. Bye, Mark.
Bye.
My name's Brandon. I'm a world traveler, foodie, and YouTuber. Together, you and I will find the best travel hacks, tips, and best places to explore. Join me as we find new adventures together, live only on IBM.TV.